Kazuya went to an event to photograph a famous cosplayer named Alice. At that moment, he really wanted Alice to look directly at his camera. He gathered his courage and shouted, asking her to strike a pose for him. To his surprise, Alice agreed and asked what kind of pose he wanted. Kazuya ended up letting her choose the pose herself. She named it Nightmare Impact. As he was enjoying taking pictures of her, a girl suddenly tapped him on the shoulder, startling him. Kazuya woke up and realized it had all just been a dream. That day was the first day of school in the new academic year. Kazuya quickly got ready and had breakfast with his family. His younger sister, Kanan, left for school first and told him to hurry up. That morning, students started arriving at school. Haruka came over and greeted Kazuya, asking how he had spent his summer vacation. Kazuya could only say that he basically did nothing over the summer. Haruka said she had seen Kanan every day at club practice, but had not seen Kazuya even once. Haruka then asked why he had brought a camera to school. It turned out the camera was an old one given to him by his father. Haruka said it looked like the kind professionals use. Just then, a girl rode by on a bicycle and greeted them. She also teased them, saying they looked like a couple walking to school together. Neither Kazuya nor Haruka recognized who she was. Before leaving, Haruka asked Kazuya to take a photo of her with Kanan sometime. Then she went over to talk to Tomoe. Haruka greeted Tomoe and asked how she was doing. Suddenly, their other friends ran up and hugged Haruka tightly because they had missed her so much. Haruka turned out to be a cheerful girl with excellent grades. She was also a star player on the tennis team and one of the most popular students in school. When they were kids, Kazuya and Haruka used to play together at the park, but before he knew it, Haruka had grown distant. Meeting the camera would soon change things for him. The day before, Kanan had gone into Kazuya's room to ask for some pencil lead. He told her to grab it from his desk. Kanan was surprised he had just finished his homework, saying he should have at least tried to do it before the Lantern Festival. She asked why their father's camera was in his room. Kazuya said it now belonged to him. Kanan felt jealous and wondered why Kazuya always got expensive stuff. Kazuya told her the camera was just a gift and that she should complain to their father, not to him. Kanan declared that she would make their father buy her a new outfit. Then she asked if Kazuya had taken any pictures yet. Kazuya admitted he had not taken any. Hearing that, Kanan was confused since their father had given him such a nice camera. She said it was a waste if he was not going to use it. Kanan then asked Kazuya to take a few pictures of her and he agreed. She immediately started posing with a cutesy bunny style. That was the last night of summer break, which felt just like any other year to Kazuya. That summer had been nothing special. His father gave him something even though it was not his birthday. A digital single-lens reflex camera with autofocus. Kazuya went to Kuba High School, a private school that was just like any other. The school was known for giving students the freedom to express their interests through club activities. On the first day of the new academic year, Momoko accidentally walked into a classroom taught by Misa. She was surprised and quickly apologized. She told the students not to hesitate to say hello if they saw her around school, then left right after. It turned out Momoko was the girl on the bike who had greeted Kazuya that morning, and she was a student teacher. It had been 40 days since Kazuya last went to school. Nothing had really changed and time moved on just like it always had. During break time, Kazuya was running and accidentally bumped into a few girls. If there was anything different about him, it was that he now saw everyone as potential photo subjects. Then he saw a girl dancing and quickly snapped a photo of her. She noticed and greeted him, saying her class had physical education after the break. Kazuya told her he was just walking around looking for something interesting to photograph and happened to see her dancing there. They started chatting, and the girl was surprised to learn that Kazuya was Kanan's older brother. It turned out that she was one of Kanan's friends. She introduced herself as Mei from Class 1B. Mei had no idea that Kanan had an older brother, and Kazuya also did not know that Kanan had a friend who was into athletics. Their conversation flowed naturally, and they were so caught up in it that they did not realize Hiramachi had been watching them. While class was still in session, Ms. Mizu was teaching in Kazuya's class. Kazuya looked completely uninterested in the lesson. Not long after, the bell rang, signaling the end of class. That day, Kazuya felt like a different person compared to how he had been during summer break. Holding a camera had somehow made him braver, helping him break out of a monotonous life. After school, he took pictures of different objects around the school. That was when he accidentally spotted a girl also taking photos on the school rooftop. Just as he was about to photograph her, Nanoka called out to him. Nanoka always called him Dart-sun. Kazuya told her he would actually prefer it if she stopped calling him that. Nanoka asked why, saying that he was Dart-sun because he played darts. She asked if he disliked the nickname and joked about calling him Billy for billiards instead. She even brought up how he gave up on playing the electric guitar after just 3 weeks. Kazuya told her not to bring up his past failures. To Nanoka, Darts was the thing Kazuya had stuck with the longest, so darts soon still felt like the best fit. Then, noticing the camera in his hands, Minoka asked if that was his new hobby. Kazuya explained that the camera was a gift from his dad. Minoka complimented it and asked if he had already taken any good shots. She teased him, saying he had probably forgotten to photograph someone really important, a girl who was healthy, kind, beautiful, full of youthful energy, and played softball. Kazuya asked where this girl was. Minoka grinned and revealed that she was talking about herself, telling him he could take as many pictures of her as he wanted. Kazuya agreed. But just as he was about to take her photo, Nanaka suddenly made a goofy face. Kazuya asked why she did that, and Nanaka said she just felt like messing around. Then she walked away. Out of nowhere, Hiramaki showed up and said Kazuya had done a great job connecting with her. He praised Kazuya for quickly capturing his subject on camera when asked, and said that Kazuya had a bright future thanks to that camera. Kazuya did not really understand what Hiramaki meant. Hiramaki admitted that he had been following Kazuya's every move that day without Kazuya noticing. He said Kazuya should try to broaden his perspective and not just focus on what was directly in front of him. At that moment, Hiramaki sent a message to all members of the photography club to gather. He introduced himself as a student from Class 3A and the president of the photography club. Hiramaki asked Kazuya if he would be interested in joining, saying he saw a lot of potential in him. He also talked about how the student life at Kuba High School was all over the place. Some students were really passionate about their club activities, others went straight home, and some just kept living the same routine every day. Then he mentioned how beautiful the wind felt when it blew upward, helping to create breathtaking scenes. Hiramaki brought Kazuya to the photography club room and introduced the members. First was Ida from Class 2A, who was an expert at low-angle shots. People often called him Low-Angle Ita. Then there was Takashi, also from Class 2A, who specialized in high-angle photography. His nickname was Takashi the Lightning Speed Snapper. Hiramaki explained that the fine line between suggestiveness and art was where true aesthetics lived, that the boundary between the two was artistic expression. The last member to be introduced was Yuko, who finally stepped forward. She was the only girl in the club known as Silent Snapper Yuko from Class 1C. Kazuya introduced himself as a student from Class 2B. Yuko's specialty was candid photography. She blended in with the background and captured subjects who had no idea they were being photographed. Kazuya referred to it as sneaky photography, but Ita disagreed, saying they did not use hidden cameras or wrap them in bags. Takashi also pointed out that they only took pictures of people in designated public areas approved by the school. Yuko added that they always got the subject's permission before releasing any of the photos. Hiramaki asked Kazuya if he did not think all of them were amazing, then invited him to join their club. Hiramaki had figured out that Haruka, the school idol, was actually Kazuya's childhood friend. He also realized that Kazuya was close friends with Minoka, the softball ace, and Mei from the track and field club. That was when Kazuya finally understood why Hiramaki had invited him to the photography club in the first place. Hiramaki said being in the photography club was fun, and he wanted Kazuya to join him in capturing the youth of the school's female students, just the way they wanted. All of a sudden, Katsumi showed up and put a stop to what Hiramaki and the others were doing as they were trying to coax Kazuya into joining. Katsumi was a third-year student from Class 3A and also the president of the photo club. Hiramaki got annoyed that Katsumi barged into their club without any warning. Kazuya asked if the photo club was different from the photography club. Katsugi made it clear that they were not the same. Then Ru came in and told them not to compare the photo club to Hiramichi's sketchy little club. Hiramichi accused them of eavesdropping, saying it was an invasion of privacy. Katsumi explained that she had talked to the student council president about forming the photo club after Hiramichi made it clear he did not want her in the photography club. That was why all the official school event photos were handled by the photo club. Kazuya said that meant the photo club was the official one. Hiramaki responded that photography should not be about being official or not, and he did not care what the student council president said. As far as he was concerned, the photography club was a proper, formally recognized group. Katsugi admitted that the photo club did not have enough members to be official, and since Ru had already joined the volleyball club, they still were not a recognized club. Ru said she was ready to quit volleyball at any time, but Katsumi stopped her. Katsumi then asked Kazuya to join the photo club, saying that with him on board, they would be one step closer to becoming an official club. She also asked him to think about how the Kakuma River changes with each season, and whether he would not want to photograph such beautiful scenery with her. Hiramaki laughed at the idea of pretty scenery, saying there was nothing more beautiful than the charm of sensual photography. Katsugi pointed out that all the members of the photo club were girls and Kazuya would enjoy himself. Hiramaki warned him not to fall for that and told him to follow his heart. Both Hiromichi and Katsumi said they were chasing true beauty in their own way. At that moment, Kazuya felt torn about what to do. He even wondered whether it was really okay to take suggestive photos like that. Then Rue asked Katsumi to just let it go, saying it would not be so bad if it were just her and the weirdo Hikari. She did not think any boys should be allowed in the photo club, but Katsumi said that gender had nothing to do with someone's love for photography. Hiromichi said Kazuya should use his common sense and then ask him which club he would choose. Kazuya did not really want to take strange or suggestive pictures, but he felt stuck, unsure of which club to join to settle the whole argument. In the end, Kazuya chose the photography club. Hiromichi and the others were thrilled. Ita even said he would help teach Kazuya since he was still new to handling a camera. Takashi promised they would be good to his friends too. Katsumi said that Kazuya had fallen for Hiromichi's sweet talk. Still, she admitted that even though they were in different clubs, their love for photography was the same, and she told Kazuya not to hesitate to talk to her anytime. After that, Katsumi and Rue left. At that point, Kazuya felt like he had just joined a club full of crazy people. That evening, Kazuya ran into a girl. He asked if she was the one who had just been taking pictures of the sky from the rooftop. The girl said she was from the photo club. Kazuya guessed she was Hikari. Hikari looked surprised and asked how he knew her name, but Kazuya did not answer. Then she walked away. Kazuya headed to a classroom and saw Tomoe sitting at Haruka's desk. He wondered what Tomoe was doing there. She looked like she had been crying. Meanwhile, Haruka was out playing tennis on the court and Tomoe was watching her. Tomoe asked Kazuya if he could keep a secret. She wanted him to promise not to tell anyone that she had been crying at Haruka's desk. Kazuya asked her why. Tomoe replied by asking if he could still keep the secret if she told him the reason. Hiromichi welcomed Kazuya to the photography club. He explained that to him, photography should explore the edge of bold expression. Beauty, he believed, existed at the boundary of what was daring, and art should push that same boundary. For him, everything worth capturing needed to have that edge. Even if harsh light poured in and clouded the viewfinder, the right moment to take the shot would always come. The key, he said, was to observe, aim, and capture. The next day, Kazuya noticed Tomoe entering the classroom by taking a roundabout path and coming in through the back door. He wondered if it had anything to do with what Tomoe told him the day before. That day, Kazuya had gym class, and while he was changing clothes, Nanoka came into his classroom and called out to him. She was startled when she saw him still getting changed. Nanoka said she wanted to borrow Kazuya's English textbook because she could not find Haruka anywhere. Kazuya asked if he was just the backup option because Haruka was not around. Nanoka explained that it was only because Haruka's handwriting was neater and easier to understand. Kazuya told his teammates to head down to the field first. Nanoka then pointed out that Kazuya's books looked brand new, just like fresh copies, since he never wrote any notes in them. Kazuya told her to grab the book herself from his locker. Nanoka went to his locker and was surprised by the number of notebooks inside. She was sure that Kazuya kept all his books in there. Kazuya asked her to hurry up and take whatever she needed. After that, Kazuya rushed off and while running down the stairs, almost collided with a girl coming from the opposite direction. Kazuya quickly asked if she was alright. The girl looked confused, wondering what he had been doing to end up nearly crashing into someone like that. Kazuya apologized, saying he was just in a hurry. The girl turned out to be the same one he had almost bumped into the day before. She asked who he was. Kazuya introduced himself and said he was a student from Class 2B. He had already recognized her. She was Aki, the student council president. Aki reminded him that if he had followed the school rules and kept to the right side of the hallway, he would not have run into anyone. Kazuya asked if that was really a rule. Aki seemed shocked that he did not know and pulled out the student handbook, pointing out the specific rules. No running in the hallways or on the stairs, always walk on the right, head to the next class as soon as the bell rings, sit down and wait for class to begin. She made sure he understood the importance of reading the student guidebook. Kazuya said he got it, then asked if Aki had really memorized all the school rules. According to Aki, any student council president would know them by heart. She reminded him again to stay on the right, then left. Right after that, Kazuya saw Haruka looking exhausted while carrying softball equipment. He offered to help, but she turned him down, saying she could handle it herself. While they were talking, Kazuya's stomach growled loudly. He had skipped breakfast that morning. Haruka told him that Kanan had mentioned he joined the photography club. She asked if that was his first time joining a club, since she knew he never joined any clubs in grade school or middle school. Kazuya said the photography club president was pretty pushy, and he could not say no. Haruka asked what kind of activities the club did. Kazuya replied that they talked about preserving students' youth or something like that. Haruka said that sounded pretty cool. She even told him he could come take pictures of the tennis club anytime since he had to help preserve their youth too. Suddenly, Haruka squinted at a flash of light. Kazuya immediately realized that Takashi and Ita were trying to secretly take pictures of Haruka, so he stepped in to block them. He wondered if they did not have class either. Haruka wanted to hurry and rejoin the others. Worried, Kazuya decided to walk with her and help carry the softball gear. He still had his doubts about what the photography club members were really up to. Once they got to the field, Haruka asked why Kazuya was still wearing his wabaki, the indoor school slippers. She told him to go change into the proper shoes. After gym class, Kazuya was starving. He was not sure if he could even make it until lunchtime. He heard a bell sound behind him and recognized it as coming from Kanan's phone charm, so he knew she was nearby. Kazuya turned around and said he was really hungry, then asked if Kanan had anything he could eat. Kanan was surprised that Kazuya's stomach could growl that loudly. She handed him a jelly drink she had brought for herself and planned to have after morning practice. Kazuya mentioned that it felt a little warm, and Kanan apologized, saying it had been sitting in the pocket of her skirt. Suddenly, Aki showed up and scolded Kazuya for snacking during break time. The moment he saw her, Kazuya was so startled he almost choked. Aki cited Article 12 under the Student Life section of the Student Rules, which stated that eating and drinking outside of designated break times must be done in the school cafeteria, unless the student has permission from a teacher or is in the middle of a club activity. Kanan said she was not aware of that rule. Aki reminded both of them to read the student handbook all the way to the last line and told Kazuya to finish the rest of his jelly drink in the cafeteria before walking off. Kanan mentioned that Aki was strict when it came to enforcing school rules, but Kazuya felt she was a little too strict. Still, Kanan said Aki was impressive and beautiful. Kazuya then asked why Kanan still carried that little bell around. Kanan explained that it was a precious item for her since Kazuya had given it to her when they were kids, so she wanted to keep it with her wherever she went. After school, Kazuya ran into trouble when he became a member of the photography club. Mai was practicing at the time and noticed Kazuya about to take her picture. She walked up to him and started talking, saying that photography club members were not allowed in the gym while the athletic club was holding practice. Kazuya asked why they were banned, and Mai quietly told him it was because the photography club members kept taking embarrassing shots from awkward angles. Kazuya immediately assumed it was Ita and Takashi's doing. He had not even known about that rule. Mai said she was surprised when Kanan told her that Kazuya had joined the photography club. She said she was sure Kazuya would never take pictures like that. Kazuya looked frustrated. He had just started to get into photography and was already running into a bunch of restrictions. Mai told him she would ask the club president to make an exception for him, then left to go speak with her. Not long after, Ida showed up. Kazuya asked why he was there. Ida said that Mai and Kanan were two of the most popular girls, and he congratulated Kazuya for being granted a special exception to the restriction. Kazuya said the real issue was why that restriction existed in the first place. He also asked who Mai Kano was, since he had only just spoken with Mai and had no idea who Kano was supposed to be. Ida explained that Kano referred to Kanan. Hearing that, Kazuya was so shocked he started coughing. He told Ita that Kanan was his younger sister. Ita was stunned and could barely believe it. He even asked if that meant he should start calling Kazuya Big Brother. Kazuya quickly shut that down, saying it sounded gross. Ita then tried to hug him, but Kazuya stopped him because it gave him the chills. A lot had happened since Kazuya got into photography, and surprisingly, it was not really because of the camera. It was more about how he had started to become more proactive in approaching people to take their pictures. It felt like a whole new world had opened up to him. That afternoon, Kazuya approached Hikari, who was taking photos of the school lockers. He was about to introduce himself, but Hikari already knew his name. Katsumi had apparently told her about him. Kazuya asked if the photo Hikari had just taken used backlighting. He mentioned that when he tried that technique, his shots always came out completely dark. He asked if there was some kind of trick to it. Hikari told him that there was nothing wrong with the photo being dark as long as it captured the right mood. She suggested that he try using exposure compensation. A moment later, Kazuya's phone buzzed with a message. He thanked Hikari and headed off. Hiramaki had messaged to inform everyone in the photography club that there would be an emergency meeting after school tomorrow. Kazuya immediately had a bad feeling about it. Kazuya could not sleep all the night before because he was so anxious. He kept wondering what the photography club members would say to him after school. On his way back, he ran into Haruka, who was wearing her swimsuit. She said she wanted to head back to the classroom to grab her headband. Haruka told him she was willing to be his model in her swimsuit. It might be a little embarrassing for her, but she was ready to give it her best because she wanted to support him. When Kazuya asked why she would go that far, Haruka explained that she just wanted to spend more time with him like they used to. Then she asked if he was uncomfortable with it. Kazuya said he was not. Haruka asked him to take her picture because she wanted him to see her, and so their secret photo shoot began. Haruka posed near the pool. Her poses looked quite silly, and she admitted it was embarrassing. After getting a few shots, Kazuya told her they should head back. Haruka asked if he would keep the photos to himself, and Kazuya agreed. She told him she only did it for him, then quietly left. What they did, however, did not go unnoticed. Yuko had seen the whole thing. That day in class, Tomoe was reading a book out loud. Out of nowhere, Kazuya remembered his conversation with her the day before. Back then, Tomoe had asked if he could keep a secret if she gave him a reason. Kazuya said he could. She had admitted she wanted to be like Haruka, beautiful, kind, great at tennis, smart, and someone everyone liked. Tomoe believed that if she sat in Haruka's seat and saw the world from her point of view, maybe she could change. But it did not work at all. She became so jealous that she ended up crying, especially since Haruka was always kind to her. She asked if that made her a terrible person. Kazuya understood how she felt. At that moment, since he was spacing out, their teacher, Ms. Miza, smacked him on the head with a book to remind him it was his turn to read. Everyone in the class burst out laughing. After school, the photography club gathered in their club room. Hiromichi was leading the meeting, and each member had to report their assigned role. Ida said he focused on capturing natural expressions. Takashi said he liked to shoot from creative angles to bring out interesting compositions. Yuko's role was to take rapid shots that captured spontaneous moments. When it was Kazuya's turn, he stayed silent. Hiromichi asked if he had forgotten his role. He reminded everyone that their current project was already clear. It was time for the Miss Photogenic contest. Apparently, the members had been looking forward to it. Hiromichi asked Yuko to check if any photography club members were not in their place. She said everyone was present. Then, Hiromichi was ready to announce this year's Miss Photogenic. EGOT explained that Miss Photogenic was a club tradition where they decided who looked the most stunning in photos and showcased their best shots during the school festival each year. Hearing that, Kazuya was surprised and started to feel conflicted. Hiromichi announced that this year's Miss Photogenic was Haruka. According to him, she ranked high in every contest category, and her total score put her at the very top. She was the true champion. He asked if anyone disagreed. Ita, Takashi, and Yuko all supported the decision and said she was the perfect choice. Kazuya had not expected this at all. It turned out the photography club had been planning this from the start. The next morning during class, Ms. Miza asked the students to throw out the overflowing trash. She wanted to know who was supposed to take care of it. Kazuya volunteered and took the trash outside. Since it was rare to get permission to leave class during a lesson, he decided to take a short break before heading back. That was when he saw a girl climbing over the school fence. Without thinking, he raised his camera and took a quick photo. It turned out to be Aki. She immediately asked him not to take pictures of her, and Kazuya apologized and put his camera down. Aki asked if he had taken any photos. Kazuya said he had only snapped one but promised not to share it with anyone. She quickly got up and asked what he was doing there, and Kazuya explained that his teacher had asked him to take out the trash. Kazuya asked why Aki had climbed the wall to enter the school. Yes, that she did not want anyone to know she was late. Aki admitted she had overslept and felt embarrassed. Kazuya assured her that it was fine and he would not say anything to anyone. Aki thanked him and asked again if he would delete the photo. Kazuya said he would think about it, but promised he would never show it to anyone. He walked away with a faint smile, feeling like something interesting had just happened. That day, Nanako was rushing down the stairs. She made a sharp turn and jumped, but unfortunately, she did not realize that Kazuya was right below her. She crashed into him, and their lips accidentally touched before they both landed and fell. Nanako quickly apologized to Kazuya for not being careful. Kazuya reminded her to watch where she was going. Nanoka felt some pain in her teeth, so Kazuya asked if their teeth had bumped into each other. Nanoka admitted they had. Hearing that, Kazuya was shocked because it meant they had just kissed. He said he did not mind at all and asked how she felt about it. Nanoka laughed and said that was how she experienced her first kiss. She was actually happy that her first kiss was with Kazuya. She admitted that she would have been a bit upset if it had happened with someone she disliked. Luckily, it happened with Kazuya, and she did not mind it one bit. Nanoka still felt some pain, but she could still feel the sensation on her lips. That was how Kazuya ended up getting his first kiss, one that left his gums feeling numb. Later that day, Kazuya went to the pool with Ita and Takashi to take some photos. However, no one was there. Ita guessed that they had arrived too early, while Takashi figured that maybe the girls just were not swimming that day. Ita was clearly annoyed, thinking it meant he had no chance of getting a shot of Rina's chest. Kazuya said there was no point in waiting around and suggested they leave before anyone showed up. As Kazuya walked away, he accidentally bumped into a girl wearing a swimsuit. She asked what he was doing there, saying she was sure her class was next in line to use the pool. Kazuya quickly came up with an excuse, saying he had forgotten something. Seeing Kazuya stop, Ida gave him a push to keep moving. But that push made Kazuya stumble and his hand accidentally landed on Rina's chest. Of course, Rina screamed loudly. Kazuya immediately apologized and Rina forgave him because she knew it was an accident. Kazuya still could not believe he had just touched Rina's chest. That girl was Rina, one of the nominees for Miss Photogenic. Rina asked what Ita and Takashi were doing there. Ida said they were helping Kazuya look for his camera lens cap, and Takashi mentioned that the three of them were part of the photography club. Rina believed them without question. As they walked away, Ita and Takashi could not help but ask Kazuya if he really had touched Rina's chest. That made them extremely jealous. Kazuya insisted it had been a total accident. In the hallway, Kazuya ran into Kanan and Mei. He asked why they were still walking around, and it turned out they were on their way to the science lab. Kanan asked if Mei had something she wanted to tell Kazuya. Mei explained that Kazuya had been granted permission to take pictures of the track and field club because she had convinced the club president to let him in. Kazuya thanked her, but Mei warned him to be careful because if he did anything foolish, he would be banned right away. Kazuya understood and asked if they would be late since the bell was about to ring. Kanan and Mei then hurried to the science lab. Kazuya thanked Mei again and promised to do his best to take great photos. Unexpectedly, Yuko had overheard their conversation. That afternoon, Takashi, Ita, and Yuko called Kazuya over to congratulate him for getting permission to photograph the track and field club. Kazuya was surprised they knew about it. Yuko said it was thanks to her secret spying. Ida brought reference materials for Kazuya, and Kazuya was shocked to see that it was an adult magazine. Ita claimed it was a cosplay magazine and the models were just photographed that way. Kazuya said it was still inappropriate, but Ida told him to study what made a photo great by looking at that magazine, since they were all looking forward to seeing some silly photos of Mai. Kazuya said that he never agreed to accept the magazine. The three of them left, telling him to have fun with more than just that photo, though Kazuya had no idea what they meant. That night, Kazuya read the magazine Ita had given him. He felt a sense of urgency. He really wanted to have a few great photos for the photography exhibition, and he knew he needed to take a lot more pictures to get there. So he decided he would keep taking more photos, and if he kept doing that, the answer would probably come to him on its own. The next day, Kazuya watched Aki doing a dive at the pool. Aki only just noticed he was there and asked if he had been standing there long. She also asked what he was doing sneaking into the pool while the girls were practicing. Kazuya replied that it was already lunchtime. He then asked where she learned how to dive like that. Aki admitted that she used to be a diving athlete and had been in the swim club up until last year. She had to quit because she got too busy with her responsibilities as the student council president. Kazuya was surprised to find out Aki was that skilled at diving. According to her, there are a lot of great divers in Japan, but she is not on their level. Kazuya said he would love to take photos of her on the day of her match, but Aki told him it would be pointless to take pictures of her. He asked why, especially since her dives were so amazing. Aki told him to stop staring at her. Kazuya thought it was unusual since Aki was usually strict about school rules, but she seemed very different in that moment. He asked if he could take a few pictures of her because he wanted to capture her in her swimsuit. Aki replied that there was no way she would agree to something so embarrassing. When she turned him down, Kazuya reminded her that sneaking into the school like that was against the rules. Aki asked if he was trying to blackmail her. Kazuya pleaded again, asking her to let him take some photos. Aki asked if she refused, would Kazuya make a poster out of those photos and hang it outside the staff room, then send them out to the students through email. Kazuya jokingly called that a good idea, then begged once more to let him take the pictures. In the end, Aki gave in and asked what kind of pose he wanted. Kazuya asked if she could do a silly pose by putting her hands together and pushing out her chest. Aki said she already knew she was tall, slim, and flat-chested, and she thought Kazuya was teasing her. Kazuya said that was not what he meant. He just wanted to try something bold. Aki reluctantly agreed to go through with it. She started posing for the photos, clearly embarrassed, and told Kazuya to hurry up. Kazuya said it would be better if she were not so fussy. Aki said the camera could not capture her words and insisted he finish quickly. She said it would be just for that day. After taking a few pictures, the two of them looked at each other for a moment. Suddenly, Hiramaki showed up and praised Kazuya for actually getting a sexy shot at Aki. He said he had changed his mind about her. He used to think she was uptight and overly strict, but now he saw she had a daring side too. Aki said there was a reason why she did all of that. Hiromichi said her sensual side had bloomed, but Aki denied it and walked away. She reminded Kazuya not to show the photos to anyone. Hiromichi said Kazuya was pretty impressive and asked how he got Aki to do what he said. Kazuya refused to explain, saying it was a secret. Hiromichi remembered how passionate Aki used to be. Kazuya mentioned that Aki quit diving because she got too busy after becoming the student council president. Hiromichi thought that was only the surface of the story. He believed Aki would not have given up something she had done since she was a child over a reason like that. He felt like she was carrying the weight of her parents' expectations. At that moment, Kazuya was walking down the hallway reflecting on everything that had happened that day. Suddenly, Haruka approached him and greeted him, mentioning how Kazuya was really diving into photography and always took it very seriously. For Kazuya, photography was genuinely fun. Out of nowhere, Haruka's friend asked her to cheer for the soccer team. Before leaving, Haruka asked Kazuya to let her know when he wanted her to be his model again. As Kazuya walked on, he ran into Ita and Takashi, who were mopping the floor. Ita reminded Kazuya that they were going to carry out Haruka's operation. Kazuya thought that this was serious and he had to find a way to stop it that night. That night, Kazuya kept thinking about how he could stop it until he eventually fell asleep at his desk. Unfortunately, everything ended before he could figure anything out. But one thing was certain, Kazuya would stop Haruka's operation. The next day on his way to school, Kazuya saw Hikari standing by the riverbank, taking photos of the water's surface. Hikari told him not to mind her because it was only then that the water sparkled under the morning sunlight. Kazuya walked away, telling her to show him her photos sometime. He thought Hikari was a bit strange, but he understood how easy it was to get lost in the moment when looking through a camera's viewfinder. As Kazuya passed the cooking club room, he heard Rina asking for help with taking a steaming pot off the shelf, which had a box on top of it. Kazuya held the pot while Rina grabbed the box from it. When Rina reached for the box, her chest accidentally ended up right in front of Kazuya's face, making him nervous. Afterward, Rina thanked him. Kazuya introduced himself, saying he was from Class 2B, and mentioned that Rina was the girl whose chest he accidentally touched before. It turned out that Rina was the only member of the cooking club. Kazuya asked if the school allowed her to run a club by herself. Rina replied that as long as the student council approved, it was fine. She mentioned that it wasn't just a club but a hobby, and the student council president really supported her, even saying it was amazing how the students' recipes could be passed down to the next generation. Rina then offered Kazuya a taste of her orange marmalade sponge cake and fed him a bite. Kazuya remarked that it tasted really good. Rina explained that her orange marmalade was made from 100% natural ingredients, so it was both delicious and rich. Later, while mopping the classroom, Kazuya received a message to carry out Haruka's operation immediately and to bring Haruka to the club room. Kazuya felt that he had to protect Haruka, even if it meant putting his own life at risk. He asked Haruka for help with carrying the trash and apologized for taking up her time. Haruka was actually happy, as it had been a long time since Kazuya had asked her to do something with him. When they reached the photography club room, Kazuya asked Haruka to stop there because he needed to quickly go into the club room for a bit. He also asked her to step back. Haruka remarked that the corridor was very clean and that the floor was shining. Kazuya realized that the floor was so slippery it could make someone slip. He immediately told Haruka to head back to class, but just as he did, he slipped and fell. Ita and Takashi were ready to take a picture. Kazuya slid right toward Haruka's skirt. After the incident, Hiromichi called an emergency meeting because things weren't going as planned for Haruka's operation. Ita claimed that Kazuya had ruined everything. Hiromichi changed their mission, instructing the three of them to monitor the target, while Yuko would secretly use her photography skills. After the meeting was dismissed, Hiromichi expressed his anticipation for the results of their work. Kazuya felt that things had become even worse because he didn't know when Yuko and the others would go after Haruka, and it was far worse than just trying to lure Haruka out. Kazuya realized he had no other choice but to be the one to protect Haruka's privacy. The next day, Mei asked Kazuya to take some photos for her, aiming to capture images that were sharp and seemed frozen in time by adjusting the aperture and increasing the shutter speed. Mei asked if the pose she was striking looked good, and Kazuya responded, hoping that Mei would find some useful shots among the ones he had taken. He would give the photos to Kanan, who would then send them to Mai. Maya thanked Kazuya for taking the time to take her pictures, and Kazuya was happy to help. Maya mentioned that she had been practicing athletics since graduating from middle school, so she wasn't very familiar with all the movements in this particular field. She explained that athletics was like a competition of beautiful acrobatics, and until now she had focused solely on the technical aspects. She wasn't yet skilled at performing movements that looked graceful, which was why she needed to keep practicing. Kazuya suggested that he should leave so as not to disrupt her training, but Maya insisted that he hadn't been a disturbance at all and thanked him again. Before Kazuya left, Maya asked him to watch her practice once more. That day, Kanan, wearing a swimsuit, screamed as she rushed toward Kazuya. She immediately jumped into his arms, frightened by a bee. Kazuya tried to calm her down, asking where the bees were. Kanan only then realized that the bees were gone, and she called the bees the real problem. Kazuya, however, pointed out that Kanan herself was the one causing trouble. Kanan apologized, and Kazuya told her to change clothes quickly so she wouldn't be late for class, which Kanan immediately followed. The weather that day was extremely hot, and Kazuya could still smell the chlorine from Kanan's swimsuit, which seemed to wash over his face like a breeze. During lunch break, Kazuya's friends invited him to eat with them, but he decided to follow Tomoe, who was walking alone. Unfortunately, he lost track of her. By chance, he found her near the emergency stairs. Kazuya asked if Tomoe often came to that place and what books she was reading. At first, Tomoe hesitated to answer, but then revealed she was reading a poetry book. Kazuya asked why she didn't just read it in class, and Tomoe explained that she would become the center of attention, and there was nothing interesting about being in the spotlight. That's why she preferred reading in that quiet spot, as she was usually alone there. Before Kazuya left, Tomoe reminded him of the promise they made earlier. Kazuya couldn't stop thinking about what Tomoe meant when she said there was nothing interesting about being the center of attention. That night, Kanan was watching her favorite TV show, mimicking the lines from the program. Hearing this, Kazuya commented that Kanan was daydreaming again. Kazuya then thought that he should return Ida's adult magazine. The next day, he brought the magazine to school, but he was worried about the possibility of a bag check, so he hid the magazine in his locker. That morning, Nanoka and Kanan were playing softball with a paper ball and a broom in the classroom hallway. Suddenly, Aki appeared to scold them. She said playing like that in the hallway could be dangerous, but Nanoka pointed out that the ball was just a paper ball, which posed no harm. Aki, however, wasn't just concerned about that. She explained that they might accidentally hit someone passing by with a broom. When Kazuya arrived, Nanoka and Kanan immediately hid behind him. Kazuya asked if Aki was angry, and Aki told him to stay away from them. Nanoka and Kanan immediately apologized and promised not to do it again. Kazuya admitted that he didn't know what Nanoka and Kanan had done, but pleaded with Aki not to punish them. Aki refused, as playing softball in the hallway was against the school rules. Kazuya then whispered to Aki, mentioning the legal violation. Aki wondered if Kazuya was threatening her again, but she believed that his threats didn't matter anymore because enforcing the rules was her responsibility. So until the end, she had to do her job perfectly. Kazuya then asked what about the legal violation. Reluctantly, Aki let Nanoka and Kanan off the hook, saying they probably regretted their actions. Kanan thanked Kazuya for his help, and Nanoka was amazed by Kazuya's actions, calling him a hero. Before leaving, Aki warned Kazuya that she would get him back someday. The day went on as usual, and when the school day ended, Momoko appeared to be struggling with a bag of trash. Kazuya noticed her and immediately called out to her. He asked what she was doing, and Momoko explained that she was asked to throw the trash away behind the school, but couldn't remember where the trash bins were. Kazuya asked if she was lost, but Momoko refused to admit it, saying she just didn't know where she was at that moment and claiming she had simply taken a wrong turn. Kazuya found it strange that she wouldn't admit she was lost, but he helped carry the trash and showed her the way to the trash bins. Momoko thanked him profusely, asking if the trash felt heavy. Kazuya, however, didn't think it was heavy at all. Momoko was very happy because there were reliable guys at school. Kazuya asked her if she had attended an all-girls school before. Momoko explained that her previous school was a regular one, but it was all girls. When they reached the trash bin, Momoko thanked Kazuya. Kazuya then asked if Momoko knew the way home. Momoko said she knew because she could just follow the path they had taken earlier, but Kazuya wasn't sure about that. Momoko eventually asked Kazuya to walk her home to make sure she was safe. Hearing this, Kazuya laughed. That afternoon, the photography club had a meeting. Hiromichi announced that their next task was to take photos of cosplayers at a fan magazine sale event near the mall. They planned to capture beautiful moments of the cosplayers. During the event, club members were required to wear a PPD badge on their arms. PPD stood for Paranormal Phenomena Detectives, a quirky club formed at Hoshino High School to deal with the chaos caused by dark Juvia in the world. Ida jokingly said that wearing the badge made them look like official paranormal agents and teased that their club leader was an adorable bunny. He told Kazuya to wear the badge on his right shoulder and said he would explain more once they arrived. Then Ida leaned in and quietly reminded Kazuya to return a magazine he had borrowed. Kazuya confirmed he would and went to his locker to get it, but it was stuck inside. Suddenly, Haruka appeared and greeted him. Kazuya was surprised to see her. Haruka noticed he was having trouble with his locker and asked about it, but Kazuya brushed it off. As Haruka put on her shoes, Kazuya suddenly became alert. Worried that one of the photography club members might be nearby, he invited Haruka to walk home with him, hoping to keep her from being photographed without her consent. Haruka happily agreed and took his hand, excited to walk together. Nearby, Yuko was indeed hiding and watching. She wondered if Kazuya had noticed her and was trying to stop her from taking photos. As they walked home, Kazuya found it hard to come up with a good topic. After considering several awkward ideas, he just asked Haruka whether she liked coffee or tea. Haruka answered tea, saying coffee made her too jittery to sleep. She laughed and said it sounded like something a kid would say. Kazuya apologized for the weird question, but Haruka said she liked it. It reminded her of when they were younger and used to walk home together after picking up Kanan from school. Haruka mentioned that Kanan had scored higher than her on a recent test and believed she would keep getting better. Kazuya was skeptical but admitted Haruka had always been great at sports and pretty amazing overall. Haruka said she was glad Kazuya had taken up photography since he seemed more energetic now, just like when he used to love playing soccer. Kazuya said he was still figuring it out. He explained that photography gave him a way to capture the moments and expressions that made his heart race. It felt exciting when he got a great shot and frustrating when he missed one. But that was what made him want to improve. The next day, Kanan told Kazuya that her lower back was hurting and asked him to check if it looked bruised. As she started to lift her skirt, Kazuya quickly told her to stop, not wanting her to accidentally reveal too much. Kanan then asked if he could take a picture so she could see it herself. Kazuya took a photo at a safe angle and showed it to her. There was nothing out of the ordinary. As Kanan flipped through some of the other photos on his camera, she suddenly came across a picture of Aki in a swimsuit. Kazuya quickly took the camera back, saying those were private. Kanan asked if he was dating someone and teased him, saying it felt like he was hiding something. Kazuya insisted she was misunderstanding, but Kanan pouted and called him a cheater anyway. After recovering his camera, Kazuya headed back to class. He was relieved he had not lent the camera to Hiromichi yet and thought he should transfer some of the more personal photos to his computer soon. While walking, he saw Haruka in the hallway and called out to her. At the same time, Ida was preparing to take a picture of Haruka, but Kazuya's timing disrupted it. He had done it on purpose, trying to protect Haruka from being photographed without her permission. During lunch break, Kazuya sat with his friends, who were surprised that he was still tinkering with his camera. One of them asked if he was really serious about photography. Kazuya said he wanted to do it right before showing anything off. After lunch, he went to the library to meet Aki and asked her for help with his homework. Aki was shocked and loudly asked why she should do that. Kazuya reminded her not to shout in the library and jokingly brought up an old rule she had broken, making her flustered. Kazuya jokingly reminded Aki that she had promised to help him, and after a bit of back and forth, she reluctantly agreed to do his homework. Frustrated, Aki quickly got it done. Kazuya praised her for being a reliable student council president who always kept her word. Later that afternoon, Kazuya went to his locker to return a magazine he had borrowed from Ita. As he opened it, Mei suddenly appeared and startled him, causing both magazines he was holding to fall. Mei apologized, saying she only meant to surprise him and helped him pick them up. Noticing the title on one of the covers, she raised an eyebrow and asked what kind of magazine it was. Kazuya quickly explained that it was not his and that he had ended up with it because of a situation involving the photography club. Mei was skeptical at first, and Kazuya nervously asked her not to report it. Mei paused and said she was disappointed but agreed to let it go, especially since she would feel lonely if Kazuya stopped coming to practice. She promised to keep it a secret, just between the two of them. As a joke, she asked if she could keep the magazine. Caught off guard, Kazuya gave a hesitant nod, thinking to himself that maybe this was karma for everything that had happened with Aki. That night, Kazuya transferred photos from his camera to his computer. He was preparing for the next day's event, where the photography club planned to take pictures of cosplayers. When the time came, Hiromichi gathered the club and gave them a quick pep talk before sending everyone out to capture the best shots they could. Ita and Takashi immediately went looking for ideal spots. Kazuya, still unsure of himself, hesitated. Hiromichi noticed and offered to help him get started. He gave Kazuya a few tips on how to photograph cosplayers, and soon enough, Kazuya found himself photographing the event's most popular cosplayer, Alice. Hiromichi continued snapping photos while encouraging Kazuya to be bold and confident. Opportunities like this did not come often. When Alice struck a pose and asked what kind of photo Kazuya wanted, he told her to pose however she liked. She shouted, "Nightmare Impact," and struck a dynamic pose with her arms raised. That was the moment Kazuya captured his first proper cosplay photo. As he kept shooting, something inside him clicked. He was starting to really enjoy it, and he wanted more chances like this. The next day, Kazuya observed a training session as several girls began warming up. Katsumi, one of the senior students, reminded everyone to stretch thoroughly to avoid injuries, sharing her own experience from her volleyball days. She noticed Kazuya nearby and asked him to photograph the session. Even though he was not part of the athletics club, Katsumi said he could learn a lot by observing and capturing real moments. Kazuya began snapping pictures as the girls stretched and prepared. While focusing on Yuko, he noticed a small detail, a distinct mole on her face, and made sure to capture it clearly. Then he saw Rina walking by carrying a bunch of training balls with a big smile on her face and quickly took a photo of her too. He made sure to focus on candid expressions and natural angles, aiming to highlight each person's unique energy. While taking photos, Kazuya thought about how people do not always get unlimited chances to connect with others. Happiness was a lot like wind, unseen but always there if you knew how to look for it. Every meeting could be a matter of fate, and photography had become his way of understanding that. Through the lens, he found himself getting closer to people, and for now, that was enough. That day, Haruka was assigned to read a poem titled The Wind of Matsubura by Kenji Miyazawa during Ms. Mrs. class. The students were really into it and paid close attention as Haruka read. After a few lines, Ms. Misa asked her to stop so someone else could take over. She called on Kazuya to read the next part. As soon as he heard that, Kazuya froze. He felt confused and nervous. Ms. Misa reminded him to stop glancing at Haruka and to stay focused on the lesson. Kazuya quickly looked for the part he was supposed to read. His awkwardness made the whole class laugh, while Haruka sat there trying to hide her embarrassment. It was one of those moments when reality seemed to splinter into endless possibilities, and one of them played out the very next day. Kazuya happened to see Haruka collapse in the hallway. He rushed over to help her. Haruka said she felt a little dizzy. Kazuya asked if she was okay, and she told him she was fine, that this kind of thing had happened since they were kids. Haruka often felt that way because she had anemia, but she was sure she would feel better soon. Kazuya suggested she go rest at the student infirmary and offered to take her there. He tried to lift her up to carry her, but as he did, his hand accidentally touched her chin. Startled and flustered, he immediately apologized. Then he asked Haruka to climb onto his back so he could carry her properly. As he carried her down the hallway, he could not help but think how stupid it had been to try lifting her by her underarms in the first place. While they walked, Haruka asked Kazuya if she felt heavy. Kazuya said no, she felt light. Haruka admitted she had been worried he might think she was heavy, but Kazuya told her not to worry about that. Unbeknownst to them, someone seemed to be watching from a distance, snapping photos with a camera. Once they got to the student infirmary, Haruka thanked Kazuya. He told her not to go to tennis practice that day and said he would let Kanane know. He asked her to rest and promised to come pick her up later. Haruka agreed and lay down to relax. As Kazuya was about to close the curtain, he noticed Takashi trying to take a picture of Haruka. Kazuya was shocked and wondered why that pervert was photographing a girl while she slept. Caught in the act, Takashi froze. Kazuya gave him a silent signal to leave, and Takashi quickly took off. Suddenly, Haruka spoke up. She said she would not mind if Kazuya took a picture of her while she was sleeping. Kazuya told her to focus on resting and said he would never do that. When they were kids, Kazuya and Haruka used to play together all the time. One day, while they were playing soccer, Kazuya accidentally kicked the ball right at Haruka. She suddenly looked weak and dizzy, and Kazuya ran to help. But just like that day in the hallway, he accidentally touched her chest while trying to lift her up. That was the moment Kazuya first realized that Haruka was a girl. Later, Kazuya called Kanan to let her know what had happened, and that Haruka would not be able to come to practice. Kanan asked him to take good care of Haruka. That evening, Kazuya walked Haruka home. Haruka said she had really enjoyed spending the whole day with him, and that she felt like everything was going to be okay. She told him that next time he could take her picture again, even if it felt a little embarrassing. She said she would do her best for him. She also asked him to let her know if he ever wanted to take her picture and thanked him for walking her home. After that, they went their separate ways. Kazuya felt happy hearing what Haruka said, but deep down, he was not sure. There was something inside him that felt solid, unchanging and unshakable, a kind of certainty he could truly be proud of. The next day at school, Kazuya overheard a group of girls talking about him. They were saying that he often spent time alone with Haruka, even though they thought the two of them did not make a good match. They seemed surprised that Kazuya and Haruka were even childhood friends in the first place. In their opinion, Haruka deserved someone better than Kazuya, and they were certain she would eventually dump him. Frustrated by what he heard, Kazuya walked off to be alone for a while. The way those girls talked was completely out of line, even to the point of putting Kazuya down. Some of them even said that if they were in Haruka's place, they would rather go for a good-looking guy instead of Kazuya. Unexpectedly, Yuko happened to hear the conversation too. While Kazuya was off by himself, Tomoe saw him, but she chose to ignore him and continued on her way. Not long after, Kazuya returned to his classroom hallway. As he passed by the door of the photography club room, Ita and Takashi noticed him. They had originally planned to ask for Ita's adult magazines back, but seeing how gloomy Kazuya looked, they decided not to say anything. Ida ended up giving up on the magazines altogether. Apparently, this kind of gossip had already happened before, back when Kazuya was still in middle school. He had even expected that rumors like this would come up again. A lot of people had made fun of him, saying he was not good enough for Haruka. As he was walking past the back of the classroom, Kazuya accidentally overheard a boy talking with Haruka. The boy was asking her if it was true that she had a childhood friend who was in the same class, and that she often spent time with him. Haruka replied by asking if he was referring to Kazuya, and then she admitted that yes, the two of them were usually together. The boy then asked if Haruka and Kazuya were dating. Haruka answered that their relationship was not like that, but before she could explain further, the boy suddenly looked relieved. He then asked Haruka to be his girlfriend and told her to forget about Kazuya. This boy was the star forward on the soccer team, while Haruka was the ace player on the tennis team. He thought the two of them would make a great pair. He did not expect Haruka to give an answer right away. He just wanted her to think about it first. As Haruka chased after him, she was surprised to see Kazuya standing nearby. She told him that there was nothing going on between her and that boy. They had just been talking for a little bit. Haruka also said that the boy was not even her friend. Kazuya said there was nothing wrong with that and even added that he thought Haruka and the boy looked good together. He believed that everyone would agree they made a nice couple. Haruka was confused by what Kazuya said. She had no idea what he was really feeling. When Kazuya stayed silent, she kicked him and called him an idiot before running off. As it turned out, Takashi and Ita had overheard the entire conversation. Kazuya could not stop thinking about Haruka and that boy, not even after he got home. The next day, Kanan came to the photography club room looking for Kazuya. Takashi and Ita were surprised to see her there. Kanan asked Kazuya where Haruka was. In response, Kazuya asked if Haruka was not at practice that day. Kanan said Haruka had not shown up at all and that she had seemed really down lately. Kanan admitted she was worried about her because Haruka had not been answering any of her calls. Kazuya immediately became concerned that Haruka might be having another episode like the other day due to her anemia. He quickly left the club room and asked Kanan to give him Haruka's phone number. Meanwhile, Haruka was sitting alone on a park bench, intentionally ignoring the calls coming in on her phone. Kazuya kept calling her again and again, but she did not pick up. Suddenly, the sound of an ambulance siren could be heard in the distance, sending Kazuya into a full panic. Kazuya kept sprinting down the school hallway, leaving Ita and Takashi totally confused about why he was in such a rush. Out of the blue, Hiramiki sent a message to every member of both the photography club and the photo club, practically begging them to find Haruka and make sure she was safe. She was the queen of photogenic shots after all, and Hiromichi made it clear that their club would do whatever it took to protect her beauty. Determined to find her, Kazuya ran around asking 3 girls he'd seen gossiping earlier that morning, but none of them had a clue where Haruka might be. Suddenly, a childhood memory popped into his head. Back when they were younger, he had accidentally bumped into Haruka's chest with his elbow. At the time, little Kazuya had asked her to stop playing with him. Haruka, confused, asked if he didn't want to hang out with her anymore. He told her they weren't kids anymore and that boys and girls shouldn't be playing together. Haruka had said she really wanted to play soccer, and Kazuya had suggested she join the girls' soccer club so she could become an amazing player. But that wasn't what she had meant. She ended up shoving Kazuya and running off. Back in the present, Katsumi and Rue were also out searching for Haruka. They asked Rina if she had seen her that day, but Rina hadn't. Meanwhile, Takashi and Ita were even checking near the river in case she was there. Kazuya remembered another moment from their childhood, when Haruka had been upset with him for telling her they couldn't play together. She had hidden in a park and refused to go home. Kazuya had begged her to come out since it was getting late, but she just told him to go home by himself. She had cried, admitting that not being allowed to play with him made her feel really lonely. That's when it finally hit him. Haruka had always wanted to be with him. She had even once said she was willing to be photographed by him even if it was embarrassing, just because it was him. Realizing that, Kazuya was overcome with guilt. He kept searching for her late into the night, running through the city streets. He realized everything had been his fault. He'd been clueless, not just about how Haruka felt, but about his own feelings too. But he knew now that he couldn't hide anymore. At the same time, Yuko was also still out looking for Haruka. Kazuya headed straight to the playground where he and Haruka used to play. As soon as he got there, the rain started pouring down. When he didn't find her at the playground, he rushed off again. As he passed in front of Haruka's house, he looked up at her bedroom window, and there she was. He was overwhelmed with relief, just knowing she was okay. Haruka quickly closed her curtain, unaware that Kazuya was down below. Just then, Kazuya shouted, his voice blending with the sound of thunder. Concerned, Haruka opened her curtain again, but by the time she looked, Kazuya was already gone. The next day, Ms. Mizu was teaching Kazuya's class. She read out a poem while the whole class listened closely, but Kazuya kept glancing over at Haruka. After class, he went to a meeting with the photography club members, while the photo club members were listening in from the next room. Suddenly, Yuko whispered something to Katsumi. Later, while Haruka was near the shoe lockers, Katsumi asked to speak with her. The two of them walked to the back of the school. Katsumi wanted to know what was going on with Haruka and why she hadn't been joining the practice sessions anymore, not even for warm-ups. Haruka apologized, and Katsumi told her that she wasn't the only one struggling to express how she felt. Haruka was confused and asked what Katsumi meant by that. Katsumi explained that maybe Haruka hadn't realized it, but out there were people working hard, giving everything they had just to be in her place. There was someone who had gone out of their way to protect her from unfair criticism. On her way home, Haruka was met by Nanoka, who had been waiting for her. Nanoka greeted her warmly and said she'd heard Haruka hadn't been showing up for practice lately. She mentioned that everyone was worried about her. Nanoka suspected that it probably had something to do with Kazuya and told Haruka that she should try trusting him. After all, Haruka knew him better than anyone. That evening, Haruka got a message from Kanan. She let Haruka know that Kazuya hadn't gone home yet, and asked her to let Kanan know if he called. She also apologized in case Kazuya had been a bother. Not long after, a younger student messaged Haruka, asking her to calm down and come back soon because they were starting to worry. Katsumi also texted Haruka, saying she realized she might have been a little harsh earlier, and asked Haruka to believe in Kazuya and in her own feelings too. Mei messaged her as well, saying she wanted to do warm-ups together again since everyone was looking forward to seeing Haruka back. Rina sent her a message inviting her to make sandwiches together again, and maybe make some for Kazuya too. Yuko also messaged her, telling her that it wasn't healthy to keep hiding how she felt. Shortly after that, Kazuya finally messaged her. He told her that he was waiting at the place where they used to play together when they were kids and asked her, sincerely, for a second chance. That night, Kazuya stayed at the playground where they'd spent time as children, hoping Haruka would come. Haruka was a cheerful and beautiful girl, seen by many as a hero at school and loved by all her classmates. She was born on October 6th, making her a Libra with blood type O. Her figure was well-balanced and naturally graceful. Haruka's appearance was truly stunning and effortlessly photogenic. That night, Haruka met Kazuya at the playground. She said that place held a lot of memories for the two of them. She shared how they used to play soccer there until sunset, getting their clothes completely covered in sand. Haruka admitted that back then, she sometimes wished she had been born a boy. Kazuya remembered that he had accidentally elbowed her chest once, and he felt stupid for telling her to go out with another guy. He apologized for everything he had done wrong. Haruka asked him if he was going to leave her again. Kazuya promised he would not leave her anymore. Hearing that, Haruka was so happy that she hugged him tightly, knocking them both to the ground. After that night, things between them went back to normal. The next day, Haruka and Kazuya returned to the playground. Haruka said she really loved that spot. It was the same place she used to hide in when she was younger. She had always played there. She tried to crawl back into her old hiding spot, but her body had grown too much for her to fit. She asked Kazuya to push her in a little. Kazuya was surprised and asked if she really wanted him to push her butt. He was flustered and unsure how to do it. Haruka told him to just go ahead and push her, but in the end, the space really was too tight. Kazuya took some photos of the scenery around the playground. Haruka said he truly looked like he was enjoying photography. Kazuya admitted that he was still just a beginner, but the hobby made him feel at ease. He said he was not a pro yet, but he wanted to take it seriously. Haruka said she felt a little jealous that he had something he was really passionate about. Kazuya asked her if she liked tennis. Haruka said she only liked it a little and was not nearly as passionate about it as Kazuya was with photography. She also said that she had caused a lot of people to worry. Kazuya suggested they apologize together and Haruka agreed. He asked if she wanted to see some of his photos. He said his club always led the school's annual photography exhibit and he was thinking about showcasing his pictures there. Haruka said she would love to see them because to her, his dream had become her dream too. Kazuya then took a picture of Haruka smiling on the swing. He could not believe he had captured such a natural shot of her. He felt like he had captured her heart, and that was the thrill of photography for him. The next day, Kanan walked into Kazuya's room and asked why he was not getting ready. She reminded him that he had plans with Haruka. Kazuya said it was not really a date, but Kanan said being late for a date was practically a crime. She added that the daily horoscope said Kazuya would have better luck if he took a little time for himself. She told him to get ready quickly and stop making excuses, and she reminded him to be careful around annoying friends. Later, Kazuya met up with Haruka, who was already at the park. He apologized for being late, but Haruka said she had arrived too early. She admitted that her heart had been pounding in anticipation all day. Kazuya asked if he could take some pictures of her in her casual outfit, and she nodded. Meanwhile, Ita and Takashi were walking together. They looked like they were planning to take photos as well. They spotted Kazuya taking pictures of Haruka at the playground. Takashi told Ita that everything seemed to be going well. Suddenly, Ita shouted, asking everyone to join him in taking pictures of Haruka. He said he wasn't about to let Kazuya enjoy the photography club's jewel all by himself. Takashi pointed out how rare it was to see Haruka in casual clothes. As Takashi and Ida ran toward them, Kazuya stepped in to shield Haruka, and that's when it hit him they were the annoying friends Kanan's fortune had warned him about. Kazuya told them to go find another girl to photograph. He even suggested they go take photos of Yuko instead. They asked how that was supposed to work when Yuko wasn't even there. But then, out of nowhere, Yuko appeared in front of them. Ida asked if he and Takashi were in the way of her sneaky photography, then commented that Yuko didn't really look that interesting in her casual outfit. Kazuya and Haruka quickly left the playground. It turned out they had gone to the beach. At the beach, Haruka wore a swimsuit and blushed as Kazuya kept looking at her. He was so overwhelmed by the view and the moment that he ended up yelling out loud to let his emotions out. Kazuya confessed how happy he was to be at the beach with Haruka. She said she felt the same. They played together along the shore, and after a while, Kazuya asked Haruka if she could pose for a few shots. She agreed and did a few poses for him. After the mini photo session, Haruka invited Kazuya to play beach ball with the loser buying ice cream. Then Kazuya suddenly remembered how Haruka used to faint a lot as a kid because of her anemia. The thought distracted him, and he didn't notice Haruka dribbling the ball past him. She didn't understand why he had gone silent. Kazuya told her to stop playing because he wasn't good at ball games. Haruka quickly grabbed his arm and asked if he was still worried about what happened back then. Kazuya said it wasn't just that, he couldn't move. They weren't kids anymore, and he felt like he couldn't just touch her freely like before. Out of the blue, Haruka rested her head on Kazuya's shoulder and told him he could touch her like that and that she could touch him too. She asked why he treated her like she was too precious. Then, all of a sudden, Haruka told Kazuya to touch her chest. Kazuya was confused and didn't know what she meant. Haruka explained that even if he touched her there, she wouldn't be mad. In fact, she said she wanted him to do it because she wanted him to know her feelings hadn't changed one bit. She begged him to touch her. Kazuya started to touch her chest and asked if he was pressing too hard, but Haruka told him it was okay. The next day, autumn arrived. Leaves began to fall, and at school, Haruka and Kazuya seemed even closer. They had lunch together behind the school building. That night, Haruka called Kazuya and apologized for calling so late. She said she couldn't sleep because she kept thinking about him. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his handsome face and his voice kept echoing in her ears. She thought maybe she could sleep if she heard his voice.